it through a conditional fiscal grant from the Treasury, which goes direct to the communities, and it depends on the nature of the project, whether it is between national and subnational, or it is between the subnational and the communities, or the private sector and the communities. So that arrangement determines how the benefit sharing happens, but for now we are working on a fiscal framework which ensures that these proceeds are distributed in an equitable way by removing layers and coming up with like a conditional grant fund where all this money goes into one basket, or like a consolidated fund, and then it is earmarked and distributed to the beneficiaries who are selected during the project. So generally, that is where we are as Uganda. We are still in the nascent stages to develop a framework that looks at the voluntary carbon markets. But in the interim, like for emerging projects which are already running, we are leveraging existing benefit sharing schemes developed under the RED Plus and also under tourism projects. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Erike. And just to save on time, we are running short of time. We'd like to invite Dr. Ogala to give us an overview. Where is this conversation likely to end up? We're talking about carbon markets in the African space. What are the enablers, the barriers? Where is this conversation likely to end up?
Thank you so much, Sweeney. Just to recognize the government of Uganda through my brother Aaron, and also Solidaridad for putting this together, and Robobank, with the support from the Dutch government. All protocols observed. I'll just go straight to the point. If you look at the Africa Agenda 2063, it's to give us a peaceful, integrated, and prosperous Africa driven by its own people. And from the Africa Agenda 2063, we craft out what we call the African Climate Change and Resilient Development Strategy and Action Plan 2022 to 2032. So the African Union climate strategy is governed by this framework. And this was endorsed by the African Heads of State last year, and it came into operation this year. So it is your strategy. It is the African Union Climate Change Strategy. It's a coordinated strategy that helps all our work, including carbon markets upon the continent. So we're also grateful that we see civil society like Solidaridad teaming and joining hand with us in the implementation of this strategy. One thing that people don't also know is that the strategy is all-encompassing. If you look at the strategy, it talks about the carbon market. And how do we address these issues of carbon market, and how should Africa benefit from the carbon market? So all we do is to join hands together with our member states, the regional economic communities, and also civil society organizations to see how we can optimize the use of our natural resources to generate even finances from the carbon market. So I wouldn't go into details of Article 6. Some of you know the Article 6.2 is the market. Article 6.4 is the non-market and market. And Article 8, 6.8 is the non-market mechanisms. And these are guided by different frameworks that will help us to benefit from the carbon trading. So let me quickly look at what we are doing with our member states. What are the barriers and the enabling environments? African member states, including those from the East African communities, have their NDCs already. All the countries in East Africa have ratified it. And you cannot implement Article 6, the carbon market, without having an NDC. So that is already a plus for the East African communities and also the countries. So we're supporting them in the implementation of their strategy, their NDCs. So that is an enabler already. So we have designated national authorities for the mechanisms in some of the member states in East Africa. We also have issues around participation. Some of the member states also have existing climate change act. Kenya had enacted its climate change act in 2016, and other countries, Uganda, also having their act. So these are enabling environment for you as a member state to benefit from the carbon market and the carbon trading and carbon finance. So we also have the issues of greenhouse gas inventory, which the member state already have for them to benefit. Because we're looking at the cooperative and the bilateral aspect of the carbon trading that colleagues have talked about. So we're looking at all aspects to maximize. And so these are enablers that are already in existence. So we have also experts at the national level, though in limited numbers, on carbon mechanisms. And the African Group of Negotiators, which is the technical arm of the African Union in terms of negotiation on climate change, also have their lead facilitator for G77 and China from Senegal, who is dealing on issues of Article 6, which deals with carbon trading. So all these are already enablers that are in place. And like I said, our strategy provides space for every civil society, a member state, to participate in this. However, there are some barriers, like have been mentioned. The limited capacity also at the national level is also a challenge for member states to benefit from the carbon trading. So this again, we work, I see the work that Solidaridad is doing at Rober Bank. Already the civil society have hit the ground running while we are putting a house in order in some of the member states. So this capacity needs to be enhanced. The issues of carbon trade is new, is coming up very strongly now. So there is a lot of advocacies and awareness that need to be created. The issue of authorization and certification is coming on board. So we need to have expertise at the member state level that will help the government, a member states country of the African Union, and the civil society working within that space to be able to gain maximally and trade from that. Because when it comes to the bilateral and the trading, you need a correct certification to avoid double counting. And I don't want to go into the details of double counting, where many things are counted as carbon climate finance or as carbon credit. So we try to avoid that as much as possible. And I see from the presentation that Rober Bank through Econ, they are also trying to avoid that, because these are the challenges that Africa has been facing for some time. So at our level, we are working with development partners to also mobilize resources. We're discussing currently between this month, actually, we're going to be supporting a number of the African Union member states to conduct capacity building on carbon trading on Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. We're discussing also, there is also a window in the UNFCCC that enables member states and parties to have access to capacity building on carbon trading and Article 6. So all these are some of the efforts we're making at the African Union, guided by our strategy, the African Union Climate Change Strategy and Resilient Development Strategy and Action Plan 2022 to 2032. So we are happy that civil society have joined hand with us. This journey, we want to do it together with you, and know that whatsoever you are doing is contributing to the implementation of the African Union Climate Change Strategy. And if you want to approach even further support from other partners in terms of implementing this strategy, let them know that when they support you, they are also supporting the African Union in the implementation of its strategy, because we have a place for that in our strategy. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ogala. Now we know we have support, so we know where to run. That's a good commitment from your end. We started late, so in the interest of time, we would like to end with a call to action from Rachel, Miss Rachel Onyoike. I'm sorry we can't take questions, but immediately after this, please feel free to engage the speakers directly. Thank you. Rachel, please.
Sorry, Marguerite and I have to figure out which one is working. I think for me, my call to action is simple. The only way we're going to tackle all the climate issues that we're having is together. It's not just a problem for civil society. It's not something that government can fix for us. It's not something that private sector can do alone. It's not something that the entire civic space can do in isolation of each other. So my call to action, especially with the various players that are in the room, whatever sector, whatever area of business you work in, it is also your responsibility to actually come to climate action. It is your responsibility as a private sector partner, as a farmer, as Rabobank, as ACON, as Africa Union, as the government, and for Solidarity as civil society. And for civil society, we want to encourage all of us to actually collaborate and work together. And we look forward to more collaborations with some of the familiar faces in the room, some of the new faces. And as Sweeney had mentioned, please feel free to reach out to any one of us if you have any questions after the session. But otherwise, we hope you have a good rest of the week, a good rest of the day. And thank you so much for taking the time to join our session today.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for the panelists as we go back to the seat. And thank you once more for joining the session today.